is available 24 hours and can broadcast your events live. And above all, you can air your events on our award-winning program like Events and Style. And any booking on the field or hall gets a bonus of free news coverage. Wow! What are you waiting for? Grab this opportunity and have your celebration in a grand style. For inquiries and bookings, please call NTA Benin, the award-winning station.
Otherwise known as Waka.
This is Health Plus. Today, searchlight on universal healthcare. What does it mean?
Diphtheria is a vaccine-preventable disease. It is highly fatal.
It's good to sing praise unto our God, for it is pleasant and praise is comely.
Give me chance, I want to praise my God.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode on Youth Arena. I can't wait to hear what you guys have in store for us today. Some of you might have experienced it.
The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Hey there, welcome to another exciting episode in Top 7 Jams. It's your girl Pearl.
I tell myself say I don't go cry, but I cry.
Do you live in Aduawa and environs, or you need a conducive and open field in Aduawa for your wedding receptions, birthday parties, annual ceremonies, family or corporate events in a serene and conducive environment that is close to nature? Then look no further. NTA Benin Aduawa is a place for you. NTA Benin Aduawa has a large field for all your events and ceremonies. Also, at NTA Corporate Headquarters TV Road, we have a state-of-the-art fully air-conditioned ultra-modern hall for all kinds of indoor events with a standby generating set, therefore ensuring uninterrupted power supply. We also have NTA Pavilion for all outdoor events at the same venue. Guess what? Our prices are affordable, locations are easily accessible, venues conducive and highly secured. Our outside broadcast van is available 24 hours and can broadcast your events live. And above all, you can air your events on our award-winning program like Events and Style. And any booking on the field or hall gets a bonus of free news coverage. Wow! What are you waiting for? Grab this opportunity and have your celebration in a grand style. For inquiries and bookings, please call NTA Benin, the award-winning station.
Yes, if you are just joining us, this is Midweek Connect on NTA Benin, and of course it's a program that we bring your way, x-raying the society, the different sectors of the society, telling what's happening, and to keep us abreast with what's going on across the country. And of course we know we do specify what happens around us here in the state, and today we'll be looking at natural disaster. And of course, you know, when we are talking about natural disaster, there's an agency at the center of it that coordinates responses and all that. And so we have as guest here in the studio the Executive Secretary, Edo State Emergency Management Agency. I'm talking about Honorable Jerry Ida Musa.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much for coming to the studio. I can really see you with your... Thank you so much for coming to the studio. Yes, you are talking about disaster management. I don't know, we would have loved to have a background. I don't know if that's ready for us this morning.
Natural disasters are said to leave painful scars in people's lives and their communities. Edo State, just like any other state of the Federation, is prone to various natural disasters that have devastating effects. Flooding, erosion, and extreme weather events pose significant threats to lives and property. In time past, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency has estimated flooding damage in Edo to have affected 10,000 people with several homes destroyed. Erosion and weather events such as hailstorm, windstorm, tanker explosions have been reported in the state too. The Edo State government has taken some steps to mitigate the effect of natural disasters in the state through the establishment of Edo State Emergency Management Agency, Edo SEMA, responsible for intervening during occurrence of natural disasters. The functionality and availability of Edo SEMA will be our focus on Midweek Connect this week.
Thank you, Mabel. Yes, talking about natural disaster in the state, you are in Edo SEMA, you are Executive Secretary. Briefly, when we are talking about Edo SEMA, what's really the role, the mandate that has been given to it?
Okay, the mandate of Edo SEMA is the frontline defense for Edo people against disaster and emergencies. And we've been saddled with the responsibility in coordinating activities with relevant stakeholders and agencies in the prevention and management of disaster across Edo states. So that is part of our responsibility. And one of the things we also do is to identify some of this area prone with some particular disasters. We know, like in Edo North, like ASAC or East for instance, where we have coastal areas surrounding those communities. So we go there, we identify measures that we can put on ground to ensure the safety and the well-being of the people living within such areas. So part of our responsibility is to identify those disasters common with areas such as, like I just gave an instance now, and also to see plans how to mitigate those disasters from having an impact or a negative impact on the people living in such areas.
And I wouldn't know how long the establishment has been in the state. For like how many years now?
I think it was established in 2009, if I'm not mistaken. But I've just recently been appointed last year.
Okay, last year.
Yeah.
I probably would have had information and all that concerning. Do you have any kind of statistics or data, something about disaster here in the state? How it has been like Edo State when you talk of natural disaster?
Okay, the natural disaster common with Edo State is flooding, gullies. We have gullies. We have rainstorm, and not just, we are not now in fire disaster also. Then we have banditry and communal crisis, and maybe a building collapse on construction sites, and we're so numerous. So anything related to disasters, but those one common are the ones I just mentioned. We have flood issues and rainstorm and then fire. But the season we have now, we know we have to do with more of flood related issues. So those are some of the disasters I think that are very common within the states.
But since coming on board, has there been any major crisis having to do with disaster that you've ventured into to arrest or did something about it?
Yeah.
What has it been?
Since the inception of this government, we've been able to visit a lot of disaster sites, or rather scene. And the first one we went to was at the J2 fire market incident that got some shop erased down. And by God's grace, just last week here, the government approved cash incentive to provide succor for the affected victims. And also we've been able to we went for an assessment in on 1 East, precisely AKK era. The same last week here, and the governor also made provision for relief materials and rehabilitation materials to be sent them to also caution the effects. And also, I think that was last month, we visited the Madoti in Ovia Southwest, where they had this communal issue where some persons lost their life. And by God's grace, I think the governor set up a committee and made with the heads of each of the community. I think it was about 8 communities that were affected. We went there for the assessment, so it was our report and recommendation that led to the government setting up that committee. By God's grace, I think the governor has also made a stance on how to assist the communities involved to get back their life. And just recently, we had a very hectic march because we visited about 5 local governments across the state. We went to All-One East, also at Afuze and Otwo, where they had this rainstorm disaster. About 100 houses were affected. We also went to East and Southeast, where there were also reports of rainstorm disasters, and on Orion as well. We recorded about 27 houses that the roof were completely blown off as a result of this rainstorm disaster. And just yesterday we returned from Isako, Isdas of Bekbe and Izevaron, where we captured about 80 houses as a result of this rainstorm disaster that were affected. These are just few that I can mention. Also, we visited the fire incident that happened at Uselu, Lagos Road. I think number 20 to Lagos, that was I think in February. So we did our assessment there. I think we also submitted our report and recommendation to His Excellency, which I know in due course help and relief material will be sent to them as well.
All right, you're talking about, okay, the report is already before the governor. Looking at in what ways do you respond to these disasters? A lot of people may think that, oh, like if my house has been blown off and something, I expect that government should be able to like take care of the house for me. If whatever has happened to me, I think government should have the sole responsibility to look into it, and of course government is for the welfare of the people. Yeah. To what extent do you respond to all these disasters? You say you've already mapped out some areas.
Okay, part of the response, like I mentioned now, we've actually been carrying out an assessment since we came on board, because some of these things were not there before we came on board. So we had to put these measures on ground, the mechanism that will be able to enable us to identify these areas. If we had this data collated, I think by now we would have been able to sort out some of the issues or disaster related to this area. So what we are doing now is data gathering. We've been able to cover 6 local governments so far. I think we did Oredo, Ego, Ikpobaoka, Orion 1, and Akoko Edo and Isako East we just concluded yesterday. So we are still going further to ensure that we go across the 18 local governments, and this will enable us to create a database, because when we are going there we use GPS to capture this area so that we can save them. In subsequent time we don't need to visit them, we just know the kind of disaster that are prone to this area, so that we can make or profile solutions on how to mitigate such disaster from having a negative impact on the people living around those communities. Another area we have also be able to touch is using technology to identify. So we are deploying drones, so that in the issue of or maybe in the face of an event of disaster, we can be able to use those drones to at least know where people, especially when we are maybe the building collapse. You know, it takes a drone with an infrared to know that there's a being living beneath the rumbles. So those are part of the measures we're also putting on ground, because this will aid in rescue and search operations. So those are some of the mechanisms we are putting on ground. Also, we have outlined as plans, as our strategic plan for the year 2025. So I know by God's grace we'll be able to actualize these plans.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that this, what you've been going about communities to collect the data is about knowing what is peculiar to a particular community. Because we know that some people have disasters differently. Some may be landslides, some may be erosion, some may be flooding, some could be climate change and all that. And from what you've discovered in your visitations and other, what's so peculiar about these areas when we talk of these disasters?
Okay, for instance, let me use the Okbekbe area and All-One East we visited recently. We noticed the absence of trees around our homes. And you know, most of these trees, if we have trees around our surroundings, it serves as windbreakers. So when the wind comes, the tree will be able to at least withstand the impact that wind should have had on the roof, or rather on the houses. So we have been putting up measures, because I think last week also we had a stakeholders meeting with all our relevant stakeholders to address some of these issues, and also to see how prepared they are, because when we talk about disaster management and emergency, there are usually 4 stages, which is the mitigation phase, the preparedness stage, and also the the rescue and operation stage. That's the response stage, and also the recovery stage. So we must put those 4 places into practice. First, you must provide solutions on how to mitigate these disasters from happening. Then also, you don't wait for disaster to strike before preparing. So we should be prepared at all times, and that is part of what we are doing now. Then, which is the 3rd phase, is also what the response phase. In emergency, the response time counts a lot, so that you can meet up with the golden hour rule, which is ultimately to save lives. And then after that, we have the recovery process, bringing them back, providing relief material, rehabilitating those that need rehabilitation. So these are the 4 key stages when we talk about disaster management and emergency. Like I was saying, in those areas I mentioned, what we are trying to do, we also, I met with the stakeholders, we discussed elaborately on plans, especially in planting trees, which has to do with the Ministry of Physical Planning, because there are those that give out plans and those kind of things. So we should be able to educate our people before building your house. There are some guidelines before those approval will go out for them to meet. Like, especially now we see compounds that have green areas. You see interlocking ties, stamp floors, and those days doesn't, because we can use this grass or planting of grass in our compound to control erosion. If you watch some of this area now, the easiest way to control gullies is by planting grasses. So these are some of the recommendations we've also made to our key stakeholders. So these are some of the things we are looking at, and also we've been able to map out areas where we are going to create EOC, that is Emergency Operation Centers, across the 18 local governments. So that is not when it happens, they now rely on the state. So each local government should have
having to a presence in the local government, because that's where it mostly happens.
Yeah, because they are closer to the grassroots. So we have LEMC, which is the Local Emergency Management Committee at all local government level. So the governor also gave us approval to reconstitute those that are not functioning at the moment, so which we are already doing. So these are part of the plans we already have a grant.
All right, like what you're saying, that means most of the time these disasters, like human beings induce them, and from what you've discovered, and you're talking about awareness, that means a lot of people may not be aware of what the danger it portends when they are the ones that induce whatever disaster they have. So how are you going to look into that?
Okay, for instance, let's come to the area of building or waterways, like the moat. We've seen moats being filled, sand filled, and the land be sold out to people. So we, like the part of the discussion we had with our stakeholder was, how can we curb this area, this menace of people filling the moats, because these moats are supposed to serve as waterways to ease this, or rather the flow of water, or whenever it rains. But we've seen communities fill it and sell it out. And tomorrow, if the government come and demolish such a property, you see people calling the government all sort of name. But at the end of the day, this is affecting other persons just because of one man or two persons' selfish interest. So part of the measures we have also outlined is to map out those houses and those areas where we have moats. Because another thing we've also seen is waste management. The way our people, the way they dispose their refuse, especially when it's raining, just go along.
Because when it rains in Benin here, before you know it, everywhere is
you see
flooded.
Not just flood, you see a lot of waste. So, and thereby this waste, they will not block the drains. So those are part of the major issue we're having. So I think until there's a stiff penalty on this, our people will not stop. Because you cry about government, this, government, that. Who is the government? We are the government. If we cannot take responsibility of our own immediate environment, then the government have less to do. So we must first start by being disciplined, our own self. We have waste managers. Why not put a call across to them to come and dispose your refuse? We've seen moats that have become dumping sites.
I think that someone even mentioned that there's one even at Tubiyoko, not to Piyoko, they seem not to be drainage or something. And it said that the water that's supposed to go through that the whole thing has been blocked.
Yeah.
And it causes a lot of flooding and all all that at that area, and there are other areas in Benin that we have these issues and all that. Oh, then you say it takes stiff up, and all should be held responsible.
I think the Ministry of Environment and Waste Management and Board, they are also made up plans, and I think if you see what the Waste Management MD is doing currently, is providing them with waste drums, so that you cannot have an excuse while you are dumping your refuses on the drains when it's raining. At least let's make provision, let's make them available in our houses, so that we can be able to dump our refuse there, and when it's filled up, we can call the waste managers to come pick them up. At least we also deliberated on issues whether they should extend their operations within a month, because like what we gather is like twice a month. That's when they come to pick up these refuses. So we also conclude that if you need their services more than once or twice a month, you can pay extra for them to come. Just put a call across to them. So these are some of the measures.
Well, citizens will always complain that they are not always timely. By the time we have your refuse, everything is just built up and scattered everywhere. They don't come early to plan all these things, and they begin to contribute, because when you move around, you see that almost it's like the littering is getting out of hands and all.
In all honesty, I will not say that is true, because I think since the inception of this government, we've seen part of His Excellency's policies, because even recently he acquired some equipment for the waste managers, so that they will not have any excuses. I think that is a good step to go. And one thing we must sensitize our people is to know the appropriate quarter to channel your complaints to. If you have, maybe you have a waste manager that comes around your house or community to pick up refugees, and is not there, you have numbers to call so that you can channel your complaints to. Then if that one is not proactive, then they look for someone else to do the job for that environment or that particular area. So those are part of the things I think we should imbibe with as citizens, because we must first take responsibility of our own environment, because it affects us immediately. So that is why we must put it first, that okay, for instance, I have a moat in my area, I see outside, I drive down at night to dump refuse. It's my own duty to call the operatives, or rather those concerned agencies, to come and hold such persons right there on the spot. Not until we start doing this, we cannot fight this pollution, rather, in the states.
All right, we are still looking at natural disaster and emergencies in the state. And of course, I know that NIMET, the Meteorological Agency of Nigeria, from time to time do predict that it will be the outcome of weather situation in some states of the Federation, and I think from time to time Benin has always been included. I don't know what information the agency has gotten about when impending flood or whatever by NIMET in the country. Have you gotten such information about the state?
Yeah, I was privileged to be in that summit in Abuja.
Okay.
I was there, so I had the first-hand information from NIMET. I think from the south states, especially this two states, we having about 2,000 plus rainfall this year. So that's why if you see whatever we are doing now, we are preparing early, so that it's not when the rain starts, we'll start preparing. From what we've been doing recently, you see the FUMA, because we work closely together. They've been deseating a lot of gutters and a lot of drains across the state, and also the water retention ponds across the state. I think last week when we met, the engineer, they told us that the governor just given them approval to deseat majority of the ponds across the city centers. And I think this will also aid in the flow of erosion and also mitigate the effect of flooding across the state also. So like the NIMET prediction also is not only just down to the area of erosion and flooding. Also, it's the best practices for farmers to engage in when to plant and when to harvest. And all this information, we have provided them with the appropriate MDAs, like the Ministry of Agriculture. They are part of our stakeholders. So we had this information sharing last week, Wednesday, when we met.
Yes, you are talking about, because if like for instance in 2022, it was a very serious scenario in the country, talking about flooding that overtook so many communities, because we believe that the Cameroonian dam, Aba Dam, was opened, and because of that, it flowed. The River Niger bank overflowed and affected. I think Edo State was affected, and we saw that a lot of people lost their houses, farmlands, and all that. And then for these areas that we have in the state that are nearer the Niger bank, what are the modalities? What's the agency really doing about these areas? Because anything can happen. Aside being that it's just predicted that flood, rainfall and all that, what of these dams that we keep having from time to time being opened by neighboring countries, and it affects the state, kind of?
Yeah, for instance, you cannot tell a neighboring country not to open their dam, but some of the things I think we've actually done, like yesterday, we just came back from one of those coastal areas, which is Agenebode.
Okay.
We went to one of the communities there occupied by Joe. So we actually saw that that place, the River Niger, actually need to be dredged. So it's part of our recommendation we'll be putting up a memo to His Excellency this morning also, so that they can dredge that place, because we've seen that, and that place can also serve as a source of income for the state and the country at large, because there's a lot of sand there which can also become a natural, how do I put it now? That can become a natural asset for the state and the country at large. So the solution to that, I think that River Niger needs to be dredged, especially in that area, because from what we see, it needs immediate attention. Yeah, so but we cannot say every time you leave the lowlands and go to island, there should be a lasting solution.
Yes, because we do hear from that when it happened at particular time, everybody staying around the bank of Niger, please relocate.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it happens again, we still relocate. Can't we have a permanent solution?
Yeah, that's what I just said. The permanent solution is to dredge the River Niger. That's just the honest truth, and it requires the federal government's approval.
Okay.
So that's some part of the information I've gathered from the previous heads that have headed the agency, and from the findings I also gathered also. So I think the state government will be able to collaborate with the federal government to see how they can provide a lasting solution to that particular area.
I hope it's something that can be dealt with immediately, because we keep having, they say you cannot do one thing the same way and expect change.
Okay, true.
You need to be proactive. All right, you are still watching Midweek Connect on NTA Benin, and of course it's a program that you can call in and share your thoughts and ask questions. And so the number to call is 0703 695 7086. I repeat, 0703 695 7086. Thank you so much. Yes, we are still talking about, of course, we do hear that a lot of camps, like centers, have been provided for people in case of, because natural disasters, we don't just say we plan this is to happen today. It comes unannounced, and so but you have to prepare for it. So when we are talking about we normally relocate, where do we relocate? Because the last time I heard about it, said those places they relocate them to are not well taken care of in the state and all that. A lot of people don't like going.
Okay.
Well, if it happens.
Yeah, I think it's even good we did this assessment yesterday, because we also use Agenebode as a case study, because we went to one primary aid facility that is being used as an IDP, a temporary IDP camp.
Okay.
And we saw the place, though it's in good use, but I think part of the things we need to do there is to do some renovation work. Then I think we have private owned IDP camps that in the case of or in the face of a disaster, we can also meet with these people and partner with them, maybe lease or rent from them. Then we have one at Ovias, I think towards the upper Siloko Road. It's a private owned IDP camp, so we've been able to go there to assess these places, so that the ones that need renovation we quickly do that. And also we have temporary shelters we can provide if they need beef when these disasters occur. So these are some of the measures we put on ground, or rather put in place.
I think we have a call. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Where are you calling from? All right.
Dumping of refuse, because it's really causing a lot of problem in Benin. I think the state government should do something about it, at least to check the flooding. The state government is not doing enough. And people always complain that these people, these private, I don't know whether it's government, people that come to pack waste, they don't normally come. So because they don't have where to dump this refuse, at night they go to the drains and dump them there. So I don't know what the state government is really doing about this.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes. You heard, I raised something like this initially, like people do complain. They don't come to pick and all that before, where do I dump them and all that? They keep complaining. What's your reaction to what the caller was saying?
Okay, I might not be in the best position to
of course, I know it's
we have the MD of Waste Management Board, but like I said,
it's a collaborative thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because most of the things we do, when we see some of these things that would cause an emergent disaster, we escalate to the relevant agencies concerned. So like I said, we had a meeting, stakeholders meeting last week, and these were part of our deliberations. But like you said, most of these waste managers are private owned. So I think this is going to be a wake-up call for the government also to meet with them and also see how the best practice that can be put in place to ensure the effective move of this waste from our residences. And also it takes someone that is disciplined. So I don't believe in excuses. Waste manager doesn't mean that you should go and dump your refuse on the drains. So what is good and what is bad is bad.
I think it has to do with attitude, whatever. People should be able to know what is right and what is wrong and be able to stick to it. All right. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, caller.
Yes, how is everything?
We thank God.
So please, my question is going to the Honorable Executive Secretary, Mr. Jerry. So this thing is that there is a place at the Seoul where the previous administration located, when they were to construct a particular route, they located a moat and they opened it up and they channeled the water from that road to that place. That's Omoroyu Street. So, but now, as we speak, the continuation of that moat, somebody during this dry season just went and bought the place, used lock-up stores. And as we speak, if it rains, nobody goes through that place. And that road is almost a major road to accessing road to people outside, after the area. So the people in that area, as I speak with you now, once it rains, they don't have access to their home because somebody just came and put stores in various this place I'm telling you now is second power line, second power line after Mori. That's the place I'm talking about now. So they don't build local stores, but they have not there. The store is at DPC now as we speak.
Much appreciated.
That's serious. Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for drawing attention to that. All right.
So what we will do is to escalate it to Ministry of Physical Planning. Also, I think that falls under the jurisdiction of Via Northeast, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
But we've not done that. At least we're supposed to do that.
Okay, you've not gone into that area
yet.
We've
not gone for our assessment. It was scheduled for Monday and Tuesday, but because of the public holiday and the emergency, we had to attend to in ASAC or East. So we skipped it. So we'll pay a visit there. But I will be privileged if I can get this caller's information so that he can be able to furnish us with the exact location. Then we'll go there for one assessment too.
All right. Yes, because we're talking, like when we're discussing that some of these disasters are human induced.
Man-made.
A lot of people do certain things. From what the callers have said now, you begin to see that human beings themselves are not sincere when it comes to disaster management, because it's not just a one-way thing. It has to be a collaborative thing. And so when these things are lacking, we begin to see the leakages and all that, and everybody bears the brunt. Because disaster is not something that when it happens, we've seen how it happens in the state here. Lives are lost. And all that, and all that. So, the agency, as you're on board, what do you think you want to do differently from what has been on ground in responding to this disaster and probably letting people know what it means. All right, let's get this call. Good morning, Mr. Caller. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. Yeah.
Good morning.
Am I speaking with NTA program?
Yeah. Yes, you are.
Yes, I have a question for the NEMA official there.
It's SEMA, sir.
SEMA. Edo SEMA. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sir, good morning, sir. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, what I want to ask has to do with the sensitization of the public. Because people seems not to be aware of what you are doing. I mean, how often do you publicize your activities? That is number one. Then number two, how often are the people of Edo using the toll-free line? Because that is what the former administration put on ground, and this administration took it over. They reinvigorated it, and today it seems that people are not using it often. Is there anything you want to say concerning this, so that people should start using it in case if there's emergency?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Caller.
Yeah,
thank you so
very much,
much.
sir. In response to your question, I think the first one was
awareness.
And I think if we are very sincere with ourselves, I think from some of the comments I've received, or rather the agency has received since this administration came on board, it is now we are aware of Edo SEMA. A lot of persons did not know that we had state emergency management agency in the state.
Okay.
When this happened, they say, okay, they want to call NEMA. It's until this present administration we've been able to make some publicity and also do some sensitization programs. Like just, okay.
Let's see what he has to say. Hello, caller. Hello. Hello. We seem to be having discussion with that call. All right, please, Secretary, continue, sir.
Okay, so as I was saying, we've been able to carry out a lot of sensitization programs and exercises. Like, for instance, we had jingles that started rolling out yesterday, and also we've been on air on ITV, and today also I'm here to also carry out this sensitization. And not just that, across the local government, so our LAMC are also going from community to communities to sensitize the public, especially on this number, this toll-free number to call the 739. That's the emergency.
Okay, 739
is a toll-free number.
Okay.
It's a toll-free number, but a lot of persons don't know this number. They don't know the number to call when they are faced with disaster or emergency cases. So we are doing everything humanly possible to ensure that the people are being sensitized to know this exact number to call, and there are officers on decks to receive these calls anytime and to escalate it to the appropriate agency or the MD responsible for that particular area of maybe emergency or disaster cases. Another thing we've been able to put on ground is we've been able to bring our all social media platforms handles back on board, like our Instagram page, our Twitter account. It's just for my PRO is not here. We've been able to put all that together. Then also we've been able to acquire 2 office lines.
Please just get at this number. Hello, good morning, caller.
Hello, good morning, presenter.
Good morning.
Okay, so I have a question for the guests, and my question is this: when natural disasters occur, how do you ensure that relief materials get to the victims themselves and they are not diverted?
Yeah, that's very important. Thank you so much. The question, if I should react to what you said before you come in, a lot of times, people, like if the palliative is given to people who it didn't get to the persons that needed it most. A lot of times we hear of diversion and all that. And that's why, like I said the other time, people said, they don't always get relief materials. How do you respond? What do you give to the people? And he's asking a question. How do we ensure that this thing gets to the right people, the victims, without any form of diversion? Because there could be a possibility of diversion.
Yeah, but not under this administration.
Okay, what's so different about it?
When I started earlier, I made 2 cases of areas we visited recently for distribution of relief materials, and also the J2 Fire Market fire and disaster victims. Also, these are things.
We are really having these calls coming in. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Please, who is the caller? Reduce the volume of your set. Reduce it, please, so that we can communicate.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes. All right. You are still having this hold back. Please reduce the volume of your set so that we can hear you well, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. We cannot hear you. We are still having the hold back. Yeah, we can't hear you well because of that noise from your seat.
Can you hear me now?
All right, continue.
I said in this our thing, the way they drop refuse inside the gutter is very bad, especially those people that killing cows. Most of them normally put the things inside the gutter in Benin. And two, in this Aduawa, the way the refuse is on the road is not good. It's causing more odor in that place. When the refuse is on the road, let them pick it on time so that the place can free. And two, let them tell those people in Aduawa not to be crossing that bridge to the road, to be shooting on the center of the road. Let them clear that place because that place is causing havoc in that place. Also, we pass the vehicle runs to the come of that thing. Understand? Let them clear that Aduawa. And also, in that Benin, they are putting those people that are killing cows, let them also putting bones inside the gutter so that it will not be blocking gutter, so that they will not be complaining here and there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. You know, from what we're having from most of the callers, it has to do with waste drainage being blocked and all that. And you know, of course, it constitutes flooding when rain falls. Yeah. I don't know. Hello. Okay, the same color. All right.
So yes. I'd like to answer that lady's question, as in so that the relief material
is not diverted. Yeah, you don't have a diversion.
Part of what we are doing is like you see, transparency is building the people's confidence, and that is part of what, since the inception of this government, we've been mandated to do. Majority of the things we do, especially when we are going for distribution of relief materials, we go with media, so that tomorrow people cannot say they did not receive these materials when it's being distributed to them. And part of the measures we've also put on ground is whenever these things happen, we must first go there for our own assessments. We don't just believe people's report. We've seen cases where like 10 houses were affected, but when you see a report of like where you have them to compare the names, you see like 50 houses affected.
Wow.
You understand? So that's why we go there to carry out
on the spot assessment, to be sure
and to be certain of what is actually happening there.
Hello, caller.
I come back.
All right, okay.
Let them set a committee so that people, this officer they want to use, let them use it. Let them put them in junction to junction.
We have tax force
so that they can be monitoring those people that making the gutter to be blocking or throwing the refuse inside the gutter, so that we can know those states is very good, very clean Edo State. But our people don't want Edo State to be clean.
That's just a major issue.
You know, imagine someone who don't finish selling now, will throw away maybe corn, putting the corn inside the gutter, the refuse. It's not good. If we can able to have a committee that will be arranging those people so that those places can be okay, very good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your recommendation.
The committee that will be taking care of all those things so that if you get to Lagos, nobody throw away refuse.
Okay, thank you so much. We've gotten your point. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sir. All right. We have just a few minutes to wrap up the program. From all these things people are saying, it boils down to the fact that it shouldn't just be government. Yeah. People are looking up to. What are the people themselves doing to ensure that this disaster we are talking about, when it comes, let it come, and at the end of the day, it's something that could be minimized and checked to a better extent.
If it's natural disaster, it's fine. We know that it's natural.
Yes, not that man-made
disasters. Yes. And most of the man-made disaster is as a result of
like the issues they've raised
so far.
And he's talking about tax force.
Check about 5 or 6 colors that will come.
Yes.
I think 4 or 5
stresses
of them stressing on the waste areas.
Yes.
So which is a part we are going to crucially.
Yes, it's really drawing attention of the agency to areas that they need to really focus on. Because this is people are. He was talking about, why don't you have a committee, maybe a task force or something like that looks into once in a while, goes into the area. I think they do have
a task force because recently they've been.
So you don't collaborate with. What's the collaboration?
No, like we said, ours is to identify and provide solutions to the relevant agencies.
Okay.
Like FEMA, now when we see gullies and areas prone to flooding, we escalate to them so that they can go there and dissip the drains and maybe water storm project, those ones that are filled up.
All right, by way of wrapping up the program, what would be your final thoughts on this issue? We're talking about disaster management in the state, and we are looking about the availability and viability of the agency. And in moving forward, as you leave the studio, what would be your parting word for Nigerians and everybody that expects that disaster management should be really handled well in the state?
Okay, in conclusion this morning, I want to appeal to our viewers back home that disaster management is a collective effort and everyone's responsibility, because the state government, even the federal government, cannot do it alone. So we are using this medium to call on concerned citizens. Report any cases of indiscriminate waste disposal across your community or your areas. This will also help in mitigating some of these disasters we often see in our areas or in our communities. Another area I want to quickly also address is the numbers to call whenever you are faced with a disaster or emergency cases. We have a toll-free number which is 739.
739. Yes, we almost press the time. 739. That was the secretary
we
of
have officers on decks that will receive that call and escalate to the relevant or appropriate quarters. And we also have our office lines where we have staffs at the office that take your calls, which is 080-7041-9855. I will take that again, 080-7041-9855. And we have a second number, 081-4084-8899. I will take it again, 081-4084-8899.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Secretary. We are pressed for time. We are all off. Thank you, Executive Secretary Edosema, Honorable Jerry Idahosa, for coming to the studio to share your thoughts. And we believe that citizens out there, you will make use of the numbers that have been called out to you to ensure that everybody partners to make sure that the state is safe for us to live and cleaner too. Thank you so much. We look forward to having you next week for another edition. Until then, bye.